The silver shuttle from Earth landed slowly on the smooth surface of the neutral moon. It was quiet here. No wind, no clouds. Only the sound of humming engines and the soft touch of boots on the ground. Captain Ethan Cole stepped out of the shuttle. He wore his Earth Defense uniform, dark blue with gold markings. His heart beat fast. He had been to alien planets before, but this was different. Today he was standing in front of the Grand Palace of the Virilan Empire. The peace summit between humans and Virilans was a historic event. Years of Cold War and silent spying had finally ended with this meeting. Both sides agreed to discuss peace, trade, and maybe even friendship. But Ethan was not a politician. He was a soldier. He didn't know why Earth's command chose him, but he guessed it was because he had a calm face and a strong record. "Don't say anything stupid," Ethan whispered to himself as the palace gates opened. Inside, everything shimmered. Crystals lined the walls. The floor glowed softly under his boots. Tall alien guards with silver skin and bright green eyes stood like statues. They didn't move, but they watched him closely. He followed a royal aide into a massive hall filled with Virilan leaders. Long-necked creatures with golden robes sat in rows. Ethan noticed their strange eyes, large, colorful, and full of emotion. Some of them stared at him with curiosity. Others frowned. At the center of the hall sat a raised throne, and on it was the Queen, Queen Seralith. Ethan's breath caught for a second. She was striking. Her skin shimmered like polished stone, changing between soft blue and silver. Her long hair floated gently behind her as if underwater. Her eyes were violet, glowing gently. She wore a robe that looked like it was made of stars. But what pulled Ethan's attention the most was her presence. Calm, powerful, watchful, and something else. She was staring directly at him. Her hands trembled slightly, everyone noticed. The hall grew quiet. The alien sitting beside Hertal, proud, wearing red armor, leaned closer and whispered something. That was her husband, Lord Theron, known across the galaxy as a war hero and powerful noble. But Seralith stood, and then she said something that shook the room. "I no longer recognize my mate. I request formal separation." Gasps, murmurs. Then total silence. Ethan blinked. Did he understand that correctly? Lord Theron stood up in anger. "Seralith, this is not the place," but she raised a hand. "The law is clear. The Queen's heart must never lie. I have seen what is true. My vision has arrived." "Vision? What was she talking about?" One of the elders at the side asked. "Who has taken the place of your heart, Your Highness?" Queen Seralith looked around the room, her glowing violet eyes stopped on Ethan. She pointed him. The room exploded in noise. Ethan stood still. "What? What the hell is happening?" he whispered. Alien voices argued. Guards stepped forward. But the Queen raised her hand again, and silence returned. "I will explain in time," she said. "But first I wish to speak with the human, alone." Two guards walked toward Ethan, not with weapons drawn, but with calm expressions. Of them spoke in perfect English. "Captain Ethan Cole, the Queen requests your presence in her private chamber. You are not under arrest. You are honored." Ethan swallowed. He looked at his comms unit. It had lost signal the moment he entered. The palace. "Do I have a choice?" he asked. The guard smiled politely. "No, but you will not be harmed." Ethan sighed. "All right, lead the way." They walked through crystal halls, past floating lights and whispering walls. Ethan's heart beat faster with every step. What did this Queen want from him? Why had she divorced her husband right there in public because of him? The guards stopped at a door made of glowing vines. It opened silently. The inside was warm and filled with soft light. Queen Seralith stood at the window, looking out at the stars. "You may leave us," she told the guards. Ethan stepped in, unsure what to say. She turned to face him. "I apologize for the confusion." "Captain Cole," she said in smooth English, her voice soft but strong. "I had no time to prepare anyone for what I felt." "What you felt?" Ethan asked, still stunned. She nodded. Relin queens are born with something humans would call a gift, or maybe a curse. From birth we see a vision of the one soul that completes our bond. It does not always appear in our own species. It is rare. Sometimes the one we see is never found. Sometimes they are not born until much later. She stepped closer. For me, that face appeared in my mind. As a child, I always believed it was a dream, a hope. But when you entered the hall today, I saw you. Exactly as I have seen you since I was a girl. Ethan shook his head. This is crazy. To you, yes, she said. To me, it is the law of my being. I cannot share my heart with one while knowing the true one stands before me. It would be a lie, but I'm human. You don't even know me. I will know you now, she said, her violet eyes glowing brighter. You are not a stranger to my soul, Ethan Cole. I do not expect you to believe me. I only ask for your time. Ethan sat on a nearby chair, trying to process it all. I'm just a soldier, he said. Not a prince, not a leader. I don't belong in a crystal palace. Soralith gave a small smile. Perhaps that is why the stars chose you, not for status, but for spirit. Before Ethan could speak again, sound filled the room, a deep hum followed by a sharp crack. The walls shook. The lights dimmed. A blast echoed through the palace. Saralith's face changed. Assassins. What? They come from Theron's? Loyalists. I knew they would try this. I hoped they'd wait. She pressed a button on her arm. The wall behind her opened, revealing a narrow tunnel. We must go, she said. Now, Ethan stood. Go where? A place only I know. Somewhere safe. If you trust me, Captain, follow. Ethan looked at the shaking ceiling, then back. At her glowing eyes, something in him instinct maybe told him she wasn't lying. He nodded. Lead the way. Captain Ethan Cole ran behind Queen Soralith through the hidden tunnel. The ground above shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. The tunnel lights flickered. It was narrow and glowing slightly like the crystal walls of the palace, but colder. Keep low, Saralith whispered. They'll try to block our escape from above. Ethan nodded, breathing hard. You expected this? I feared it might happen. When I left Lord Theron publicly, I knew his pride would not allow silence. You said this was about a vision. About me. He looked at her as they moved, but I still don't understand what that means. Saralith stopped in front of a circular wall. She placed her hand on a glowing panel, and the wall opened silently into a small chamber. It looked like a transport pod. We'll talk inside, she said. They stepped in. The door closed behind them, sealing off the tunnel. The pod lifted and started flying through a clear tube underground. Outside the window, strange minerals glowed in patterns Ethan had never seen. Soralith turned to him. Berellin queens are different from others of our kind. Our minds are touched by the star stream at birth of force that shows us only one face, one soul, who fully completes our being. For some queens, the soul they see is another Virulon. For others, it is someone from a faraway species. Ethan watched her carefully, and you think, you saw me? I do not think, she said. I know. Since I was young, I saw visions of a being from a blue world. A man with short dark hair, wearing strange armor, standing tall in a land of fire and smoke. I thought it was only a dream. But then, you walked into my throne room. I saw that. Same man standing in front of me, exactly as I'd seen him for years. Ethan felt a chill crawl down his back. This doesn't make sense. You're an alien queen. I'm just a soldier. Soralith's eyes softened. Do you think the universe cares about rank, about species? The star stream doesn't choose based on power. It chooses based on connection. He looked away, unsure what to say. The pod slowed down and stopped at a hidden station deep beneath the palace. They stepped out into another crystal room. This one had shields, weapons, and screens showing parts of the palace under attack. Several royal guards alute, and loyals saluted the queen when she entered. Ethan noticed how serious their faces looked. Your Highness, one said, Lord Theron's soldiers have taken the upper levels. He's declared you unfit to rule and claimed the throne. Sorellis' expression stayed calm, as expected. He is moving faster than I thought. The guard looked at Ethan, and the human. He is under my protection, she said. He is not a prisoner. He is the reason Theron moves so quickly. Ethan stepped forward. If I'm causing danger to you, maybe I should surrender myself. No, Saralith said firmly. He does not want peace. He wants to control me. He wants to control the vision he fears. Why fear a vision? Ethan asked. Because it makes him powerless, Saralith answered. In our culture, a queen's bond must be respected above all else. If the bond changes, the queen's choice is final. He cannot stop the vision, so he tries to destroy its sorcew. Ethan looked at her in disbelief. But I didn't ask for any of this. I know, she said, and I'm sorry. But the moment you stepped into that room, the fate of 2 species changed. Ethan looked at the screen. Explosions shook. Parts of the palace, drones flew in, chasing guards. Alien symbols glowed red. What now? He asked. We leave this world, Saralith said, and we survive. Then we fight. Ethan raised his eyebrows. Fight. I thought you were a queen. Not a warrior. Her eyes narrowed. On Virella, a queen must be both. Within minutes, Saralith and Ethan were aboard a stealth ship. It looked like a long crystal spear with silver wings. Inside, the walls pulsed with soft light, and the controls moved at her touch. As they left the moon, enemy ships tried to detect them. But the stealth cloak worked perfectly. Ethan sat beside Saralith in the main control chamber. They were finally alone again. He looked at her. I still don't get it, he said. You saw me in dreams. Fine, but how do you know I'm not just a mistake? Saralith looked at him quietly. I don't just see you, Ethan. I feel you. Even now, your emotions touch mine faintly. Virellan bonds connect thoughts, feelings, memories. Only at a low level now, because you are untrained. But the connection is there. Ethan frowned. That's why I feel strange around you, like I already know you. Yes, she said softly. You are sensing the link. He leaned back. Please. This is too big for me. Saralith looked forward. Through the glass at the stars. It's too big for anyone, but it chose you. For a moment, they sat in silence, watching the galaxies pass by. Then Saralith spoke again. When I was young, I tried to resist my vision. I married Theron because it made political sense. My people needed unity. He was strong, respected. Thought I could ignore the dream, but I was wrong. Ethan looked at her with understanding. You were trapped in a bond you never chose. She nodded. And the moment I saw you, the chains broke. A message blinked on the screen. Opened it. The face of an Earth commander appeared. It was Admiral Reese, looking stern. Captain Cole, we've lost contact with you. Report your status immediately. Ethan leaned forward. Sir, I'm alive. Situation changed. I'm with Queen Saralith. There's been a coup her former consort declared war. I suggest no action until the Admiral, cut him off. Son, you better return to Earth immediately. We don't know if you've been compromised. I haven't, Ethan replied. I came willingly. Reese's eyes narrowed. You sound like you're under alien influence. Sorella stepped into view. Admiral, I speak to you now as Queen of Virella. Ethan Cole has done nothing wrong. If anything, your soldier saved me from destruction. Reese stared, unsure what to say. Queen or not, your people just took over a peace summit. We'll prepare a military response if this isn't cleared. Saralith's voice stayed calm. I do not wish war, but if your forces attack us without understanding, they may spark one. The call ended. Ethan sighed. That went well. Saralith turned to him. You still want to go back? He paused. No, not yet. I don't know what's going on, but I need to see it through, she nodded. Then we go to the edge of the system. There are old allies who may still remember what honor means. They traveled to a desert moon called Kara's, home to the outcast Virellan tribes. These were ancient warriors who had refused to bow to Theron's rule years ago. Now, they lived in exile among canyons and sandstorms. Ethan and Sarilith landed. In the middle of the stone city, dozens of warriors in black armor stood waiting, unsure whether to raise weapons or bow. Then, an old warrior stepped forward. His voice was like stone. "You are the queen." Sarilith bowed her head. "I am." He looked at Ethan. "And this human is your chosen?" "Yes." The old warrior nodded slowly. "Then we may have hope yet." That night, in a quiet tent, beneath the twin moons of Karaz, Ethan sat alone, looking at the stars. Sarilith joined him. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "But I'm also curious." "About what?" "About why me? Why now? Why across galaxies? And species? You saw me." Sarilith sat beside him. "Asked myself the same. But one truth remains. The moment you walked into that hall, my heart changed, and I will not turn away from it." Ethan looked into her glowing violet eyes. Something told him deep inside that this was just the beginning. The campfires on Karaz burned low, casting soft orange light over the rocky ground. Ethan Cole sat beside Queen Sarilith, watching alien warriors train under the moonlight. Their swords glowed blue. Their movements were sharp and fast. It was clear they were ready for war. But Ethan didn't want war. He wanted to understand. "I still can't believe I'm here," he said quietly. "Ago, I was in orbit above Mars, drinking recycled coffee. Now I'm in a desert moon with an alien queen who says she dreamed of me since childhood." Sarilith gave a soft smile. "And yet, you stayed." Ethan looked at her. "Yeah, I don't really understand why." Sarilith leaned back, her eyes on the stars above. Maybe it's not something to understand. Maybe some truths are not logical. They are felt." Ethan looked at her carefully. "Do you feel it?" She turned to him, her violet eyes glowing. "Stronger each day." Before he could reply, the camp's alarms rang 3 long tones, followed by a short blast. The warriors jumped to action. A scout ran toward them. "Queen, human, ships incoming. Virulon class, not friendly." Ethan stood. "They tracked us." Sarilith frowned. "He moves fast." Ethan grabbed a blaster rifle offered by a warrior. "I guess talking is over." Sky lit up with streaks of fire as enemy dropships broke through Karaz's thin clouds. Huge, black, beetle-shaped ships slammed into the sand, releasing squads of red-armored soldiers loyal to Lord Theron. Sarilith raised her hand and shouted in her native tongue. The outcast warriors charged, their blades humming with power. Ethan fought beside them. The enemy soldiers were strong, tall, and armored, but they were slow. Ethan moved quickly, taking cover behind rocks, firing precise shots. One enemy aimed a plasma cannon at Sarilith. Ethan tackled her just in time. The blast hit the rock wall behind them. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "Still, protect me." Even without understanding why, Ethan helped her up. Old soldier habit. The battle raged on for an hour. Dust filled the air. Lights flashed. But slowly, Sarilith's side pushed back the attackers. Finally, the last dropship exploded in the sky, and silence returned to the desert. Later, in the healing tent, Ethan sat shirtless as a healer patched a burn on his side. The pain wasn't bad, but his mind was full. He looked at Sarilith, who stood nearby, watching. "You said this would be about survival," he said. "Now it feels like I'm in the middle of a war." She nodded. "You are. Theron doesn't want peace. He wants control. He fears what I might become with you at my side." "Not a king," Ethan said. "I'm not even a leader." "Are more than a title," she replied. "The universe placed you in my vision. That means something." Ethan looked at her seriously. "I need to know. What do you want, Sarilith?" "Really?" She stepped closer. "I want a future where I am free to choose. I want to lead without fear. And yes, I want to know the one I've seen in my dreams." Ethan stood slowly. "Like that. I'll help. I don't know where this ends, but I won't run." She placed a hand on his chest softly. Then we begin something new. In the following days, Seralith and Ethan traveled to old starports and forgotten worlds, searching for allies. They visited Dravos, a mining colony once loyal to the throne. There they met Corin, a virulent engineer who hated Theron's rise. "Lost my wife during his raids," Corin said. "If you're really the queen, and this is really the human from the vision, I'll follow you." Corin gave them old battle drones and fuel for their ship. Then they visited Zentha, a moon filled with refugee aliens. Seralith spoke to the people, offering peace and safety. Ulthan helped fix broken systems. He trained young guards. The people cheered for them. Whispers spread, "The true queen lives, and with her stands the human from the stars." Their bond grew deeper during these travels. Sometimes they sat in silence watching the stars. Sometimes Seralith shared memories of her childhood, of loneliness, of pressure to marry Theron, of the dream that never left her. Sometimes Ethan told her stories of Earth, simple things like oceans, rain, and the feeling of standing on grass. She listened with wonder. But not all news was good. One day, aboard their ship, Corin rushed in with urgent data. "I intercepted a message," he said. "Theron plans to attack Earth." Ethan stood up. "What? He claims Earth stole his queen and broke the peace summit. He's gathering a fleet." Seralis's face turned cold. "If he attacks Earth, humanity will fight back. Billions will die." Ethan paced. "Earth Command already thinks I'm compromised. They won't believe me." Seralith looked at him. "There's only one way to stop him before war begins." "How?" he asked. "By challenging him." The next day, Seralith sent out a royal command across all channels. Trial by unity. It was an ancient rite in Virilan law. When rulers clashed, and both claimed to be right, they could be tested before the people. The trial included 3 stages: wisdom, strength, and connection. If Seralith won, she would remain queen. If Theron won, she would be exiled. "And me?" Ethan asked. "You are my chosen bond," Seralith said. "The trial tests both of us." Ethan blinked. "You mean I have to compete too?" "Yes," she said gently, "because our unity is the heart of this challenge." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then I'll fight." The trial was held on Dornus, an old space station known as the Circle of Law. Thousands of Virulon citizens gathered, along with watchers from Earth, the neutral systems, and even Theron's supporters. Ethan and Seralith stood on a crystal platform. Across from them, Theron stood tall, wearing red armor, his eyes full of hate, still hiding behind dreams and humans. "Seralith." Theron growled. She answered calmly, still fearing truth. "Theron." The first test began. Test of wisdom. They were given ancient problems to solve about history, law, and unity. Seralith spoke clearly, offering peaceful and clever answers. Theron argued with anger. The judges gave the point to Seralith. Test of strength. A combat trial using practice. Weapons. Ethan had to face a large alien warrior, stronger and faster. But Ethan used speed, planning, and old human tactics. He won not with brute force, but with brain and heart. Crowds cheered. The second point was theirs. Final test. Connection. The trial that measured true bond. Seralith and Ethan were placed in a crystal chamber. A device read thoughts and feelings between them. If the bond was strong and real, the device would glow white. If weak or false, it would remain dark. They held hands. Ethan felt nervous, but then Seralith whispered, "Don't force it. Just be." Breathed slowly. He felt her hand, her calm. Her presence. Memories flowed into his mind. Not just his, but hers. He saw her standing as a child in a golden garden, crying, wondering who the face in her dreams was. He felt her loneliness. He felt her hope. And she felt his too, his fear, his duty, his growing trust. The room glowed first softly, then brighter, then white. The bond was real, The trial was over. Back in the circle hall, the elder judges stood and announced the result. Seralith of Varela and Ethan of Earth have passed all 3 trials. Their unity is true. Cheers echoed through the hall. Tarian turned and stormed out, his face red with rage. Outside, the crowds chanted, "Long live the Queen. Honor to the human. Unity brings strength." That night, Seralith and Ethan stood alone on the balcony of their ship, orbiting Dornis. "You did it," Ethan said. "You got your throne back." She looked at him. "We did." He nodded. "So what now?" Seralith took his hand. "Now we build a future." Ethan smiled, not as a soldier, but as something more. The crystal walls of the great hall in Varela gleamed under the twin suns. Crowds from across the empire gathered to witness the new dawn. Banners fluttered, carrying the colors of the Queen's house alongside Earth's emblem. It was a day of celebration and a day of new beginnings. Captain. Ethan Cole stood quietly beside Queen Seralith as they prepared to enter the hall. The tension in the air was thick, but it was mixed with hope. The ancient trial had proven their bond was real, yet many still doubted if a human could truly stand by a Varelan throne. "Are you ready?" Seralith asked softly, her violet eyes steady on him. Ethan nodded. "I've never been more ready for anything." Together they stepped forward. The crowd was loud, yet respectful. Many nobles whispered among themselves, unsure how to react. Ethan felt their eyes on him, some skeptical, some curious. He kept his chin up, knowing this was not just about him. It was about 2 worlds meeting. At the center of the hall stood the ancient coronation temple, carved from the heart of a giant crystal. It was where rulers of Varela were crowned. Today, Seralith was to be officially restored as Queen, and Ethan was to be named her High Protector. The High Protector was a title never before given to a human, or even to an outsider. It was the highest honor one could have after the Queen herself, a symbol of unity, strength, and trust. The High Priestess stepped forward, her voice ringing through the hall. "Seralith, Queen of Varela, do you accept this crown, and with it, the responsibility to lead your people with honor and courage?" Seralith raised her head and replied clearly, "I do. And do you, Captain Ethan Cole of Earth, accept the role of High Protector? To stand by the Queen and defend the peace of the Empire?" Ethan's voice was steady. "I accept." The priestess smiled. "Let the ceremony begin." Light filled the room as ancient crystals sang a soft melody. Seralith's hands were gently lifted, and the crown woven from star metal and blue gems was placed upon her head, glowing with energy. Ethan knelt beside her. The priestess placed a silver medallion around his neck, engraved, with symbols of Earth and Varela intertwined. "You are now bound by oath and honor," she said. Ethan looked up at Seralith, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. It was more than a title, it was a promise to protect a future built on unity. As the ceremony ended, the crowd erupted into cheers. Some nobles who had doubted nodded in respect. The alliance between Earth and Varela was no longer a rumor or a dream, it was real. Later, in the private gardens of the palace, Ethan and Seralith walked beneath tall, glowing trees. "The nobles will need time to accept this," Ethan said. "I still hear whispers. Some think I'm a puppet." Seralith laughed softly. "Then we must prove them wrong. Words fade, but actions last." Ethan smiled. "I'm ready. What's first?" She looked up at the stars. "We build a council, half virulent, half human. Together, we will decide the Empire's future. It will be more than a word." News of the new alliance spread quickly across the galaxy. Earth's command sent envoys to congratulate Ethan and Seralith. Trade agreements were discussed, cultural exchanges planned, but there were still threats. In a shadowed room on the outskirts of Varela, Lord Theron brooded. His once great power was broken, but his hunger for control remained. "They cheered her like a queen," Theron spat, "and the human, he thinks he belongs here." A dark figure stepped forward, his trusted advisor. "Theron, there are forces ready to back you. You can still rise again." Theron's eyes gleamed. Then we will strike. The peace they build will crumble. Back on the palace balcony, Ethan and Sarilith watched the twin suns set. Do you fear what's coming? Ethan asked. She shook her head. Fear does not guide me. The future is uncertain. But together we are strong. Ethan took her hand. We will face it, whatever it is. Days passed. The new council gathered. Discussions were long and sometimes heated. But slowly, trust grew between humans and Varellans. Ethan proposed a joint defense program of fleet, combining Earth's technology with Varellan ships. Sarilith opened trade routes to planets long closed off, encouraging peace and prosperity. One night, as the council met, a warning arrived. Sensors detected a massive fleet moving toward Virelatheron's forces. Regrouped and ready, Ethan stood quickly. We must prepare for war. Sorellis' eyes narrowed. Or we can show them why unity is stronger than division. The battle that followed was fierce. Starships clashed above Varella's surface. Explosions lit the darkness like fireworks. Ethan commanded the defense fleet, using Earth tactics combined with Virellan technology. His leadership was sharp and inspiring. Soralith led ground forces, her presence rallying warriors who once doubted her. Together they fought side by side. After hours of fighting, Theron's fleet was forced to retreat. His power broken again, his ambitions crushed. Victory brought relief. But Ethan and Sarilith knew peace was fragile. In the aftermath, Sarilith addressed her people. Let this battle be a lesson, she said. Our strength lies not in weapons, alone but in trust, between species, between hearts. Ethan stood with her, proud. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a protector, a leader and a symbol of hope. As the twin moons rose, Ethan looked at Sarilith. Do you think the vision was right? He asked softly. She smiled. It was more than right. Destiny. They stood together, ready to face the future. The grand halls of Varella's palace were alive with celebration. Lights shimmered from every crystal, and music filled the air, soft but full of hope. This was no ordinary feast. It was a new beginning, a chance for two worlds to walk together, Captain. Ethan Cole stood beside Queen Sarilith, dressed in a formal uniform that mixed Earth and Virellan styles. His heart beat steady but fast. He looked around and saw faces he had once known as strangers. Now they were friends, allies, and comrades. Sarilith stepped forward and raised her voice to the crowd. Today marks the birth of a new era. Not just for Virella, but for all who seek peace and unity. The crowd cheered. After the speeches, Ethan and Sarilith walked to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, painting. The sky with colors Ethan had never seen, deep purples, fiery oranges, and shimmering blues. Do you remember the first day you saw me? Ethan asked softly. Sorellis smiled. How could I forget? You stood tall but confused. One felt a sudden certainty. Ethan laughed. I was so lost, I didn't know what was happening. Now I'm here by your side. She took his hand gently. You chose to stay. That choice changed everything. A servant approached with a small box. Inside was the emblem of unity, a symbol created to represent the bond between Earth and Virella. It was a delicate necklace, with two intertwined circles, one blue-like, Earth's oceans, the other violet-like, Virellan crystal. Sarilith fastened it around Ethan's neck. You are no longer just a visitor. You are part of our story. Ethan touched the emblem. I promise to protect it, and you, as long as I live. But even as the celebrations continued, not all was peaceful in a hidden chamber. Lord Theron sat brooding over maps of star systems. His face was pale, his eyes burning with hatred. They celebrate a false queen, he muttered, and a human who thinks he belongs here. His advisor approached. My lord, we can still challenge them. We have allies in the shadows.
Allies.
to descend fulham where we suffer a set of cement smiled darkly. Then let the galaxy watch. The true power will rise again. Back in the palace, Ethan and Saralith prepared for their next steps. They knew the peace they built was fragile and would be tested. We must strengthen the alliance, Saralith said. Trade culture, defense must grow. Ethan nodded. We must reach out to other species. They see our unity. They may follow. She smiled. You think like a true leader, Ethan chuckled. Maybe I am becoming one. Days later, in the council chamber, representatives from Earth, Varela, and other species gathered. The room was alive with discussion plans for trade routes. Joint research. In a combined defense fleet, Ethan spoke passionately about shared goals. Saralith watched him with pride. Their partnership was no longer just personal, it was the foundation of a new galaxy. One evening, as the palace quieted, Ethan and Saralith sat in the garden under the stars. Do you ever regret leaving Theron? Ethan asked. She shook her head. No, that bond was never true. The vision was. Ethan smiled. And that vision brought me here. She took his hand. Together, we will face whatever comes. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the air. The ground beneath them glowed faintly. The star stream, a cosmic force that touched the queens, was alive. Saralith closed her eyes, feeling its power. It tells me our journey is just beginning, she said softly. Ethan squeezed her hand. Then we'll walk it together. Months passed. Trade blossomed. New friendships formed. The alliance grew stronger. Ethan trained new leaders, sharing Earth's knowledge. Saralith healed old wounds among the Virulon people. Their bond became legend proof that two different worlds could unite for peace. One day a message arrived from a distant system. It was an invitation to a galactic council, the first ever held with humans and Virulons together. Ethan looked at Saralith. This is it. Our chance to show the galaxy what unity means. Nodded. Let's go. As they prepared to leave, a final message came from Lord Theron. It was a warning and a promise. You may rule now, he said. But power is never given freely. Beware the shadows. Ethan and Saralith looked at each other. Let him come, Ethan said. We're ready. Under the twin suns, they boarded their ship. The city below shone bright, a symbol of hope. Saralith looked at Ethan. My queen, he said softly, and my high protector, she replied. Together, they lifted off into the stars. The future awaited.